I should probably use this thing, right? Wait. Talk about an intro, right? What's going on, you guys? Your host with the most. Another video. Another coffee with Kensou. Yo, big ups to Common Bond Bakery. So good out here in Houston. Really good coffee, really good pastries. Just go check them out. Shout out to them, right? That aside, I want to talk to you guys today a little bit on I want to talk to you guys today on something a little bit more personal and Guilty Gear centric, because I get asked this question a lot, and I think this is one good way to kind of like put out the real answer, if you will. So before I move on, two things. One, I got people working on my roof right now, so you might hear some thuds and doop 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 doops. You know what I'm saying? But if you hear that, just disregard it. I'm not gonna let people working on my roof stop me from making content. That would be whack, right? That is one. Two, a lot of you guys who watch the videos, you know what time it is. You know I gotta tell you again, right? A lot of you guys watching the videos are not actually subscribed to the channel. Obviously, you know I'm going to encourage you to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, stay up to date with anything and everything that happens on this channel. It does help me grow. It does help me get to where I'd like to be here with this content creation thing. So obviously I'm going to keep encouraging you guys to support, because hey, I love doing this stuff and I like to keep it going, you know. So with those two housekeeping things out of the way, please guys, don't make too much noise. Don't make noise when I'm making points, please. Okay, so the topic here is Chipp Zanuff. Why Chipp? Why did I pick Chipp in Guilty Gear? Why did I stick with Chipp Zanuff this entire way through? All from the time the games come out to all the way up in here until Strive, right? Strive's not even out yet, you know, fully. You know, big ups to ArcSys with the new beta coming soon. But I want to get into why did I pick him, right? So first and foremost, if you know me, it's very obvious. I love ninjas. It's just a given. I grew up in, you know, watching a lot of like, you know, early action movies and seeing a lot of like the ninja stuff. Always thought that was cool. All these kung fu movies, you know, I'd watch all these movies with my stepdad. And we'd watch, like, after Saturday morning cartoons, we'd watch some kind of movie or some kind of show regarding ninjas or kung fu or something along those lines. And I was just enthralled by it. I always thought it was just cool, like the choreography. I didn't know it was truly on choreography, amongst other things, obviously, right? It's a movie. But, you know, you're like, you know, 5 and 6 years old. You're like, dude, that is awesome, dude. Look at the ninja sword. Look at the... You know, they're just out here, you know, just doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And it starts there, you know, as a kid loving ninjas, right? And moving forward in the time, you know, we get older, start seeing things even cooler as time goes on. But Chipp in particular, honestly, one of the biggest reasons why I stuck with him and played him in the first place was obviously he's a ninja, right? But the biggest thing to me about Chipp as a character, you know, from the lore standpoint, like he's grown so much through each part of the series, even all the way up to Strive now, right? And he went from, you know, if you guys don't know his backstory, I mean, essentially he was an orphan, you know, abandoned, and became pretty much a drug addict and helped sell drugs and test drugs for, like, you know, gangsters and mafias and all kinds of crazy stuff, up until the point where he gets saved by his ninja master. And it just, you know, the lore goes on from there, right? He went from, you know, drug addict to, you know, reformed martial artist slash ninja, all the way up until now, where he's like, you know, basically Hokage status. You know, he's grown. You know, in X, you see his demeanor change. XX, his demeanor changed. X, his demeanor changed from just Guilty Gear 1 all the way up until Strive. His demeanor has just changed like drastically, and he's one of the more sensible characters in the storyline, actually. And his reformation, you know, is something that was interesting to see kind of coming up. But moreover than just, you know, connecting with his lore and just seeing, basically my thing is I've always been a big fan of like seeing how characters kind of like change over time. in addition to just seeing the reformation of the character and seeing him change, you know, and seeing Chipp change so much was really cool. But more or less, you guys want to talk about the gameplay, right? Like, well, it's the gameplay, right? It's really the gameplay that kept you there. Yeah, of course. You know, at the time when I first played him, you know, more so in Guilty Gear XX, right? In Guilty Gear X, like, there was the foundation of playing Chipp, but I would say Guilty Gear XX, going into Midnight Carnival, right? Midnight Carnival, basically, like, I don't know, I just saw a different side of the character, and it's seeing a different side of the character in addition to playing Guilty Gear, you know? And Guilty Gear is just such a different game than what I was already used to playing, which was, you know, Capcom vs. SNK 2, Marvel 2, Third Strike, you know, Garo Mark of the Wolves, KOF. You know, I was playing a lot of those games back then, and it's just, you know, obviously from playing Guilty Gear 1 and Guilty Gear X, you know, obviously there's clearly nothing like it, but when I really sunk my teeth into XX, it was like, dang, dude, like, there's so much here. And what made me really stick with him even further was being creative with him, right? That's the one thing Guilty Gear is really good at, right? Guilty Gear as a series is really good at teaching players creativity. Not every character can be creative. Who am I kidding? All the characters are creative, to be honest with you, especially if you have like the mind for it, right? It's basically the combination of just like trying to figure things out from watching every single Japanese Chipp player like die. Like, whether you guys like to believe it or not, it used to be very, very frustrating back then to watch, you know, Chipp matches and watch him die over and over and over and over and over again from, you know, the region in which you would expect to see, you know, a character like that flourish, you know. But at that time, he was considered low tier for whatever reason. I always thought it was mid tier, but he essentially, you know, just didn't flourish out there. So I had to take this big, you know, step in my creativity as a player to learn more about the character outside of what I saw in Japan. I do feel like I helped shape his strategy, and I think that kind of helped across the board, not just here in the States, but over there as well, for a few different reasons. But, you know, I had to learn a different play style, right? I don't know, it was just difficult. And because that was like so hard to, like, you know, watch a match and watch my character lose all the time. It was one thing if I was watching like Soul, or mostly Soul or Eddie or any of the other stronger characters in that version of the game. Like, it was, you know, I could watch them and like learn something and be like, yeah, man, I'm just gonna go apply it. But like watching the Chipp players, like, there was nothing to X copy. It was just like, Duel 1, let's rock. See show. It's like, all right. So, and this will go on for like games and games and games. And, you know, I'm downloading this stuff on like dial-up, you guys. So anytime, you have to think of it from my perspective, right? I see like a Chipp match, I see CH versus, and I'm like, I click download and like, oh, I can watch. And then insta letdown, you know? You know, imagine downloading match videos and like watching your character just die, you know? And it sucked. He's a low HP character, so it definitely was really frustrating to like watch him get hit by all kinds of stuff and die. So like, I just took it upon myself to just say, screw it. I'm just gonna stop watching these Japanese match videos for my character and start studying other players of the game, and specifically Kakyun. But in studying him, it helped me figure out other things for Guilty Gear and Chipp. And from that point on, like, it just strengthened the resolve to stick with them. Not to mention, back in the day on the Shoryuken forums, back when Shoryuken forums were really active, right? Shoryuken.com basically had, like, you know, a section for Guilty Gear, and there's always people talking down on Chipp. Chipp sucks, she's low HP, he dies, blah, blah, blah. It was just a slew of just negativity. And I think that was probably one of, like, the biggest things that pushed me to keep playing him. Is just seeing everyone talk so bad about him, and then it's like, you know what? I'm going to overcome the odds. I'm going to be that dude. I'm going to work my hardest to make this character as strong as possible. Regardless of him not having this, that, and the other, or people calling him low tier, I was like, I'm going to do it. You know, and it's not to say that like I was trying to be like a low tier hero. I think at that point, you know, and even prior to that point, you know, I would always see things differently than a lot of players. You know, a lot of players would look at something and be like, that's not that good. And I'm just like, well, hold on, wait a minute. Let's try to examine this, you know, and see where this really, you know, lies. Is it really that bad, or is this character really, you know, poop? You know, I don't know. I always try to find meaning beyond meaning, because I want to know, you know, like I always question things. So in doing that, it really just made me want to keep going. Now, I did play other characters as well. You know, it's pretty clear. I played Eddie. People know me for playing Eddie at Evo. And a lot of people didn't even know I played that character. You know, and I played several characters competitively, you know. Specifically, Chipp, Soul, Johnny, and Eddie, or Zato, you know. Eventually, I got down with Jam and Milia and a few other characters. But, like, as soon as I could play a good chunk of the cast. But, like, I would say, like, those 4 in particular were, like, my competitive characters, to be totally honest. And I don't know, I just figured out so much with them, and it just made me want to stick with them, because I felt like there's something there that people aren't seeing that I believe is there. And obviously throughout the series, the character got better, you know, got more damage. Like, you gotta think about it from my standpoint, right? And you know, I get asked this question a lot, so much, man. I'm not even kidding, guys. Like, how did you do it with him back then? Like, he didn't have all this cool, you know, YRC stuff, or this FRC shenanigans, or the wall mix-ups and stuff like that. I'm like, you just had to be solid. You just had to be good. You know, you had to be fundamentally sound at Guilty Gear in order to play him, because Chipp is essentially like the basics of pretty much any fighting game, or even just Guilty Gear as a whole, right? It's just, he has everything. You know, he literally has everything. He's got teleports, he's got invisibility, he's got an uppercut, he's got a fireball, you know, he's got command grab, you know, he's fast, good buttons, good jump in, just like, he has like literally everything. But it's not easy to apply it, because, you know, he's a low HP character. And in some ways, Chipp can be seen as actually easy, but the hard part is just not getting hit. So, coffee. That's smooth. So, in essence, since you have all the options, it's like you're essentially playing like a boss character, you know? And it was really fun trying to figure out all this stuff to make him work, you know? Like, for a long time, you know, I could care less what anyone says to me about this one, but I always felt Chipp versus Soul was really good for Chipp. Like, almost as, I would arguably say, it's a 7-3 personally, you know? And it's a testament to me playing against, you know, fantastic player Robot, one of my training partners from back in the day, and just figuring out all kinds of ways to like beat that character and beat other characters. And like, I don't know, it was just, it went beyond just like, oh, this is an unwinnable matchup for Chipp, or this is unwinnable. Like, I learned to outplay people, you know? And I think that was the beauty part of playing him back then. Now, don't get me wrong, my love for the character really pushed me, honestly. I'm not gonna front, guys. Like, my love for playing Chipp and just, you know, seeing what he's capable of is really what pushed me, you know? Like, Reload was like those were dark times, you guys. Oof. Those were dark times when it came to Chipp, man. Like, Chipp and Reload has got to be, at that's probably the true low tier version of Chipp, to be totally honest. That version of Chipp is not good. Like, man, he's bad. XX Chipp is arguably better than Reload Chipp, despite having like a better overhead off 6K and other things. But it's, I don't know, Reload Chipp actually pissed me off probably the most. Not just because he was weak, because it took away 6K. 6K was so good. But I'll get into that later. That aside, you know, yeah, it's just people downing him is what made me stick with him. And then, like, it helps also, you know, I won Texas Showdown 4 with that character, you know. Like that strengthened the resolve even more, you know. And 2004 had a really good year in Guilty Gear, all the way up until, you know, even now, you know, had really good runs with him. And like, it's just, when you get him down, it's such a, for me, it's a beautiful thing, you know, because the character definitely promotes a lot of creativity and like your approach. Because a lot of people look at him as more like, oh, he's a rush down character, he's supposed to rush in and press buttons. It's like, you know, that speed can be utilized in a way of like scaring people, you know, scaring your opponents, scaring your opponent to make mistakes, you know, giving your opponent a false sense of security, you know. He's fast, I'm gonna press buttons. You're like, psych, you thought you whiffed a nice button for me to punish. So like, there were so many things that I learned with him. Like, I don't know, that character was just so, I still think Chipp is such a well-designed character. Like, sure, he may have his ups and downs, you know, in each version of the game, but I always felt, I would say Reload was probably the one version of the game where I felt like it was very hard and like I couldn't do it. Like, at least not at 100%. Not as much as the confidence as I had in XX. XX, I feel like I could have just, it doesn't matter the matchup, like I can overcome it, right? But Reload is just like, there's a lot of overcoming, but oof, it was just hard. It's just hard. It was really hard. That's why I was really happy when they made him good in Slash. But that aside, yeah, I mean, I can go on and on and on about this, right? But I can just tell you guys from experience, like, Chipp, I always felt like that character was just an extension of me, I suppose, you know? Like, I saw a lot of myself in the character. I don't know, you know, as people, you know, especially growing up, you know, you kind of like put yourself in the character's shoes and you kind of like resonate. And I feel like that's kind of like what it was, you know? I just resonated so well with the character that like, it just, I don't know. My love for the character just never really like, it never went away. Even when things got frustrating. No, I'll be honest, you guys, some of you guys don't even know this. Well, a lot of you guys don't even know this, but like in Accent Core Vanilla, like I ended up switching to Jam for a good, almost a year. And it was because like, even though I knew AC Chipp was good, like I had such a difficult time because AC is such a drastically different game than like Slash, right? And you know, I still played him, you know, but like I probably played the first year of AC in tournament a little bit more with the Jam than I did with Chipp. You know, I would probably say it was a 60-40 Jam over Chipp because Jam was just as fast. She had EX Puffball, you just die. And like over time, I eventually overcame that and was like, all right, I can do this with him now. You know, like I feel strong enough to do this. Like I feel like this is possible. It took a while. You know, I'm just, and I guess, you know, the big moral of this whole thing here is, or the thing I'm trying to demonstrate to you guys, like, character loyalty can take you guys really far. Some of the newer fighting games, it can be difficult to do this because some characters who are kind of weak don't provide enough to get you to get him to the next level, you know? And Chipp, I've always felt like outside of Reload, really this is outside of Reload, I feel like it was always possible. Even when that stint of Jam, like I never stopped playing him, I just had to figure it out, you know, and it took a while. Sometimes things take, you know, time to figure out in order for you to like really resonate and click with something or like readjust. Because I guess a quick testament to that is like playing, it's like you have this really good character from the previous version of the game. Notice we're going back and forward, right? So in Slash, Chipp was super good, and AC Chipp is super good. It's just AC is such a very volatile game in terms of damage. Slash damage, Guilty Gear Slash damage wasn't as high. Like it was high, but not as high as Accent Core. Accent Core damage output is like, oh, you got hit by this force break, I'm gonna just take a complete dump on your life bar and just good luck. You know, enjoy that. You're eating cornflakes, well, your cornflakes just got pooped on. Hold that. You know, it used to be really frustrating just getting like hit by certain things and just legitimately either getting dizzied or dying. It's like, man, I'm living through XX Chipp all over again and dying really fast. Like, holy crap, man, I have to do so much. But as I said, man, when things clicked, I became that much better with them. I still played Jam on the side, but like I pushed my Chipp even further at that point. And just knowledge bank just got super high. Yeah, man, like I can go on and on, like I said before, but like at the end of the day, like I think it was trying to, actually not even I think, overcoming the odds and legitimately just wanting to be the best Chipp, I think were the two things that really pushed me. Like, as wild as it may sound, like, I didn't initially care about winning tournaments. Like, I just always, my driving force was always to be the best with my character. Like, if I'm not the best, I want to be top 3. And that was my mentality back then. You know, nowadays, it's still kind of there, but not nearly as much because, you know, you're younger, you're kind of like brash, it's like, it's all me. Now I'm just like, you know what? I don't need to put that in my head anymore. I don't need that in my head. I need to keep focused on like being the best player I can be. It doesn't matter if I'm playing Chipp or not. Now I want to be the best player I can be. So demeanor changed a little bit there, and that's on a player thing, not so much Chipp. But while I still care about being up there with Chipp, I think being the best player I can be is probably a greater, I think now in particular, that's a greater goal than just being the best with the character. So yeah, man, I think that might about do it. I can go on and on and on, I think, but I think I think that's really it, you know, and that's why, man, like, I really love that character. Like, I can say with a straight face, playing Chipp, no matter how difficult it can be, still it really does bring me joy. Like, even in Strive, when I had difficulty with things, I'm like, I don't care. They're like, oh, you're gonna die in 2 hits. You gotta hit me, asshole. You gotta hit me. If you can't hit me, you're not gonna get that damage. So, you know, no matter how hard it gets, I know I'm gonna end up sticking with them. And I'm sure that's gonna be another question that people are gonna ask me too. So I'm just gonna dead it right here. Am I gonna stick with Chipp and Strive? Yes. Do I intend to switch? No. Will I play other characters with him? Probably so. Obviously, I had interest in Giovanna. And pretty much whoever else comes along, or whoever I feel is more fun, or what have you. Like, I'm gonna play a good chunk of characters, but like, Chipp will most likely always be like the #1. He's the numero uno. I will play him, even if this turns back into Reload Chipp, I'm gonna have a secondary almost 100% for certain. You know, and I already intended to co-main him with Giovanna. I didn't really play her too much in the beta because I'm waiting for full release, but you know, I really intend to stick with him. Oh, man, I better put this out here too, actually. This just might go a little bit longer than I thought. But I guess a last addendum to all this is, like, if you intend to play Chipp, I want you to understand that, like, in its rawest form, everyone's super cold with Chipp in training mode. In training mode and talking about him, like, everyone's super cold. Everyone's like ridiculous. Everyone doesn't lose. No one gets hit. It's when you have to play good people and you have to make decisions and you have to play the game against people is when people recognize that how hard Chipp actually is, you know? So like, get it in your head right now. If you intend to main him in Strive or any other version of Guilty Gear, you have to be committed to learning to take damage, to not take damage later, okay? And don't get discouraged. Don't worry, you know, in the instance of Strive, I have a video on this coming out. Sorry, I was kind of like delayed on it, but in Strive, things may be difficult right now. That doesn't mean it's going to stay like that. You know, work with what you have and don't worry about what you don't have. And that's another video coming soon. So with that being said, yeah, I think that's going to do it for now. Can you guys really just, like, honestly? Anyway, guys, let me go ahead and get up out of here. I'm not taking too much more of your time. I didn't even drink too much more of my coffee, man. I'm thirsty. But thanks for watching as always, and I appreciate you guys. You know the deal. Stay safe out here in these COVID streets. Should I tell you to play more Guilty Gear, or do you already know to go play more Guilty Gear? You probably don't. Go play more Guilty Gear.